Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Peters Township Community Update. My name is Brian Schill, and I'm the Executive Director of the Chamber, and facilitating with me today is Kelly Keene. She's the wizard behind the curtain today, so we'll see her a little bit later. First thing I'd like to do is thank our sponsor, Washington Financial Bank. We could not do what we do without our sponsors, and Washington Financial has graciously underwritten all of our community updates, and we truly appreciate their support. We do have Ryan Bates with us today. Ryan, would you mind saying a few words?
Sure, thanks, Brian. Just quickly, on behalf of the bank, we're very proud to be a sponsor of this event. We appreciate the partnership with the Peters Township Chamber and all the good work that the Chamber does. We also appreciate our partnership with Peters Township, and we consider them to be one of the crown jewels of our municipal portfolio. So we're honored to have that relationship with them as well. But like everyone else on the call, we're looking forward to hearing more about all the exciting things going on in Peters Township. So thanks, Brian. Thanks, Kelly. And Paul, look forward to what you're going to be sharing with us. Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan. Really appreciate it. So yes, joining us today for this State of the Township is Township Manager, Mr. Paul Lauer. Good morning, Mr. Lauer.
Good morning, Brian. How are you?
I am very well and hope you are as well. So our format today, we'll have Mr. Lauer do his presentation, and then at the end, we'll follow up with some Q&A, just a little bit of Zoom 101. This is being recorded, so it will be available on our YouTube channel for your perpetual viewing pleasure. If you do have a question today, please use the Q&A button rather than the chat. And like I said, when Mr. Lauer is finished, we'll go ahead and try to get through as many of those as we can. So at this time, Mr. Lauer, take it away.
First, I want to thank you for this opportunity. My wife used to say that she could always tell when people didn't know me well because they would ask me to talk about scouting or they would ask me to talk about Peters Township. And I'm always enthused because we have a great message to deliver in Peters Township. It is truly a remarkable community. It is a destination for lots of people in terms of where they choose to live. I did want to spend today talking about a couple items that I think are important that are occurring within the community right now. And to do that, I'm going to attempt to share my screen with you. So I know Chief McLaughlin is on the line here, and I don't know whether he's available to help me with this, but I want to talk about some of the efforts in Peters Township as it relates to COVID-19 and specifically with regard to vaccinations. I was telling council last night, we had an event on Sunday, and at that vaccination event, which was held at the recreation center, we vaccinated, with the assistance of Hilltop Pharmacy, 1,000 individuals. And to put that in perspective, as I stood there waiting for this event to begin, I checked the Pennsylvania Department of Health website, and in Washington County up to that point, 5,100 people had received their first vaccine. So in one day, we did a vaccination program that was 20% of what occurred on that at that location. I mean, in Washington County up to this point. So one of the things that when Chief McLaughlin and I got together and the questions of vaccinations were coming up, my direction to the chief was that as he interfaced with health providers throughout Washington County, is that we should always have our hand up, that we should be a community that wants to serve as a partner for encouraging people to get vaccinations and to make it readily available. I always harken back to what Fred Rogers used to tell children with regard to times of tragedy, and he would always tell children that you should always look to the helpers. As an adult, I've always taken that as kind of a challenge that we should all become those helpers. And as I stood there on Sunday, I was so proud to see that so many individuals associated with the township were those helpers. And in addition to that, you had people who had no connection necessarily to the township. You had pharmacy students from Duquesne. You had medical students from the University of Pittsburgh. You had just the whole cadre of individuals realizing what this crisis is all about and just wanting to do something to help. And it truly was a remarkable outcome. I don't know if Chief McLaughlin wants to add anything to that.
Paul, like you said earlier, as long as I'm here to help you. So Sunday's effort was amazing, and we can deflect effort all day long, but I think leadership starts at the top. And our direction from the community, from council and from Mr. Lauer had always been raise our hand to help. When we did, we were called upon. And when we were called upon, people came out in mass to help us out. And that includes Mr. Lauer himself, who spent 8.5 hours getting people organized in line. And we put on what we heard was one of the more organized vaccination clinics that other people had seen. The person that had seen other vaccination clinics was from Channel 11. He had been to a few, most recently one at the VA, and he said this one, it worked, and how we got people through there, and to do 1,000 people in about 8.5 hours, to me was an impressive effort. But when you challenge our community, we'll hopefully rise to that challenge every time and deliver. A couple questions came about during and after this was, how did we end up with Hilltop Pharmacy? We weren't looking for anybody specifically, but when we were looking to get our first responders vaccinated, Hilltop Pharmacy reached out to us. The owner, Mr. Pat Labella, lives in this community in Peters Township, and he asked if all of our first responders were taken care of. When we answered no, he jumped to the opportunity to vaccinate our police officers, our firefighters, our EMTs, and everybody else that fall in that group 1A. From there, he said, this ran well, can we do it bigger? And we rose to that challenge, and I think we did that. We saw people from all around Peters Township, all around Pittsburgh come to this event. As I was casually talking to people in the crowd, we had people from as far away as Cranberry and as close as Ivy Lane in Peters Township, which, if you know where Ivy Lane is in relation to the rec center, it is literally a stone's throw away. So to serve that vast of an area was pretty impressive. In the way that it ran, I was impressed with. We're going to try to do this again as much as we can. To some of that, Mr. Lauer will speak to. But Mr. Paul, that's all I have, sir, and unless you have anything else you would like me to address.
Well, feel free to chime in, Chief. Where we sense frustration in the community, and I think it's frustration that's shared across the state of Pennsylvania, is how do I, as an individual who want to receive a vaccine, how can I find out where those opportunities are? So one of the things that the fire department has done, and we've now included on our website, is a list of organizations that have been identified as opportunities to receive vaccines. So they include the Washington Health System, the Mon Valley Hospitals, Allegheny Health Network, Giant Eagle, Rite Aid. And where all these people are kind of at this point is not necessarily administering vaccines, particularly to plus 65, but establishing waiting lists for that to occur. One of the things that Chief McLaughlin has done is to strike an agreement on behalf of the township to work with Washington Health System to host a ongoing vaccination program at the rec center. In the middle of February, they will begin vaccinating individuals 6 days a week, about 10 hours a day. And one of the things that you can do to help yourself is if you go to the Washington County Healthcare System's website, there's an opportunity to click on to begin to receive their email updates. It is our understanding that they will have up this week a reservation site that you can begin to plug in your name to be able to be on the list of people to be vaccinated. The one place that you can also go that is not listed here, and we will be adding to the list, is the Allegheny County Health Department. The Allegheny County Health Department has done a wonderful job in terms of vaccinations. If you look at the number of people vaccinated in the state of Pennsylvania, Allegheny County has by far been the best performer. These vaccinations are not a local asset. These vaccinations are being provided through the Pennsylvania Department of Health. So you can go anywhere and in fact get a vaccination. So hopefully in a matter of months, we'll be spending less time talking about COVID-19 and vaccinations. But in the meantime, the township stands ready to partner with anyone who can bring vaccines to our area. One of the things that we caution people is that we're not the source of the vaccine. We are simply, in the case of the Washington County Health System, and in the case of Hilltop Pharmacy, we're simply providing space and support to make the vaccination process work. So it does no good to contact the township because we don't have a list to be able to put you on. And again, you need to reach out to these organizations that are listed here.
Paul, if I could quickly add to that, exactly that page I was going to say, the State Department of Health has a vaccine finder map that is updated regularly. And I've been checking there frequently to see individual locations get updated when they get vaccine. And the good ones will also include how to register for the vaccine through that facility. It's been a great resource. I think we're going to put that up as well. And to mirror what Mr. Lauer said, even though we are not providing the vaccine or we don't have any access to vaccine, one thing that I think we've been helpful with, and I will say more than most communities, is providing ease of access to our residents. But we can't hold it to specifically Peters Township residents. It's an effort to make the vaccine as easily accessible to our residents as we possibly can. And getting a vaccination clinic in this municipality is the easiest access we can identify. So that's been our goal. We're working towards that goal. And Paul, is there anything else you want to say about that map?
Well, the only thing I wanted to say about the map, one of the questions, and again, you go to the Pennsylvania Department of Health. If you do a Google search on Pennsylvania Department of Health vaccines, you'll get linked to a page that includes this map. And one of the things we got questions about was, how did people find out about the Hilltop Pharmacy vaccination availability? And it's through this kind of resource. So as Chief McLaughlin said, when you click on a green button, those are people who have vaccine. It also provides you some information about that group. So like RX Partners does have vaccines, but their vaccines are dedicated to long-term care facilities. But this is a way to identify who and where you may be able to register. And the system is fragmented, and my suggestion to everyone is to get on as many waiting lists as you can, because there's no clear indication when your name may pop up on the Giant Eagle waiting list or the Washington Hospital waiting list or Hilltop Pharmacy's waiting list. And so I would encourage everybody to reach out to all of them and get on as many lists as possible. This is, if you go to the Allegheny County Health Department, this is what is posted currently for January 25th through the 30th. This posting went up last Wednesday. If I had a guess, it may well be filled, but you shouldn't rely on that. You should go out and look yourself. I'm sure the health department, because they've been very good about this, will be updating this as time moves on and indicating more availability. So,
Paul, there's two questions that came in on the chat.
Sure.
One is from Mr. Greg Gold, is asking if community businesses can support the vaccination efforts with supplies, sponsorships, anything like that. As we move forward, we'll look with Washington Health and let them know that we do have a vast array of businesses in our community that are willing to help. One of the most amazing things is the people that show up in mass to say, raise their hand, I want to be a part of this and I do want to help. Obviously, everything has its critics at times, but the overwhelming majority is there to help. We will keep the chamber updated if there are any needs from the businesses as far as we have. But Paul, correct me if I'm wrong, we don't have any immediate needs that need addressed.
We do not currently.
And Mr. Mark Dwayne, will there be an upcoming vaccination clinic anywhere in Peters? I think answering that with the Washington Health System is going to open up a clinic in Peters Township. As of right now, it's going to be at the rec center. It's going to be about 6 days a week. That's going to start the week of February 22nd. We're still working out all the fine print details, but we do have verbal commitment from that organization that they're going to utilize our space and start with doing about 300 vaccinations per day and scale up on an increasing rate, hopefully to about 500 or 600 per day.
And again, to give you some idea, the whole vaccine program seems a bit disjointed. You know, when we finished on Sunday, Chief McLaughlin, myself, and everyone else there from the township was so excited about being part of this. Our first thing was to turn to the owner of Hilltop Pharmacy and say, when can we do this again? And the answer was, we would be excited about doing it again. The problem is getting access to the vaccine. And they could not promise us that they could have access to that vaccine again. And so once again, we've raised our hand with them and they know to ask if in fact we can help. So we're going to move on to a different subject. You know, one of the things that Peters Township has a long history of doing is partnering with PennDOT to do intersection improvement programs. I know for many people, PennDOT's an easy target, but quite frankly, they've been a good partner with the township in doing improvements to our road system. You only have to go back and look to years ago when we did the improvement at East McMurray and Valley Brook Road. And if you were here long enough to remember the narrow bridge that was replaced with the current intersection, and that narrow bridge, there are pictures of it with horse-drawn buggies on it. You know how much things have changed. We've had luck with them partnering on the Valley Brook Route 19 intersection, the East McMurray Churchill intersection, the elimination of both concrete culverts that are used to carry the Arrowhead Trail over top of it. And so the next project of significance that we're going to be looking at is the intersection of Bebout and Valley Brook Road. And this project is moving along quickly and in all likelihood will be under construction next year. What is proposed for here is a roundabout. One thing I know about roundabouts is that everyone has an opinion with regard to their efficacy. I think this particular application, it should work well. And one of the reasons why is that this roundabout, unlike most roundabouts, is really only has 3 legs of traffic. And I think it's gonna make the roundabout simple to use and to be effective. You know, I have the good fortune of every morning coming down Bebout Road from the direction of Venetia and entering this. And I can tell you that that leg each morning backs up sometimes as far back as the Public Works garage on Bebout. And if you've ever had the good fortune on being on Valleybrook Road, coming from East McMurray Road in the evening, it is not uncommon for it to back up a long way as people attempt to make that right-hand turn on Bebout Road to return home. I'm going to try this and we'll see whether or not this works. But one of the things that PennDOT recently did was that they had a seminar with regard to this project, and what they did is to have a webinar like this, and they gave people an opportunity to make comment. And if you go to our homepage, you will see this. And if you click on this link, it will take you to this site. And as you'll see, there's an opportunity to submit comments. There's also an opportunity to view that, what they call a viewing meeting in its entirety, that explains what's going to be happening there, and what is the rationale for using a roundabout as a solution. One thing I wanted to share with you, because I think it's kind of an interesting thing, this is actually a simulation that they did. It is running at double speed, and what you can see is how the roundabout handles the traffic, not only based upon what the current loads are for this road system, but actually the projected loads. And so as you watch it, what you see is you'll see that they've simulated trucks going through this. They simulated school buses, fire trucks, and how they will hopefully eventually move through the intersection. PennDOT's very confident that this, in fact, is a solution that is not only viable, but it is cost effective. Building these roundabouts are substantially less expensive to build and maintain than a signalized intersection. So I don't know if anybody has any questions about that, but I would encourage people, because PennDOT does seriously take these comments under advisement, and they do incorporate those things into those comments into the design. The next thing I wanted to talk about was what's happening up on the Rolling Hills site. As community probably well realizes at this point, the school district has in fact occupied the new high school starting last week. That's been received extremely well by the students there. We in the interim have been working on the master plan for Rolling Hills Park. We have let a contract that will construct the loop road that you see here in this drawing, and as well as the picnic areas, restroom facilities, and a maintenance building to service the park. In the master plan for the park, one of the things that was included was an aquatic center. And of all the items that have been asked for since I have been here, and I've been here since '84, is the desire to have an outdoor community pool. And the master plan reserved space so that in fact that pool could be constructed. Peters Township Council, acting on a desire to do that, has engaged an architectural firm for the purposes of designing this aquatics facility. This is a rendering, and it's a work in progress of what that aquatics facility would possibly look look like. It has elements that are designed as a water park. One of the things that we know from studying other outdoor municipal facilities, it's this kind of design that makes outdoor aquatic centers sustainable from a financial standpoint. This aquatic center contains a children's area, which is a large spray park. What that's going to allow us to do, if in fact this gets constructed, is to extend the period of time and when the aquatic center would be open. I can see that we could be opening the spray park in May. I could see it staying open well after the pool closes towards the end of September. This is again an artist rendering of what that facility would look like. It includes lap pools, large slides, a lazy river, diving boards, climbing walls, and a rope swing, so that you can kind of relive swinging on that rope swing into a river. So it's a very exciting project. The children's area, the spray pad, will not just be ground-based elements. There'll actually be a play structure there that kids can climb on, and there'll be a large bucket that will dump water on the kids as are on that structure. This is a zero entry pool that's in that children's area, and it is it's got a beach entry to accommodate younger people who attend the park. And again, you've got this really kind of exciting area. It includes a lap pool for those who would like to swim laps. It also provides an opportunity for instruction for water safety classes. And that's what, in that area where those lap pools are. What I showed you before was kind of the an early color rendering of this. As the design keeps getting developed further, the actual design begins to morph a little bit. And as of right now, this is what you're looking at is the most recent design for the aquatic center. The intention is that this to go out to bid in the spring of this year. Council will at that point make a decision as to whether or not they're moving ahead with the project. If they do move ahead with the project, the idea is to have a ribbon cutting for Memorial Day of 2022. So, and the project that has Chief McLaughlin most excited is a new fire station that is going to be built along Bebout Road in the vicinity of Timberlake Drive. One of the things that we recognized is that the growth in the township is occurring in the area where people have a Venetia zip code. And the length of time that it takes to reach that area is for fire suppression is a concern to the township. So we have acquired the property located at 435 Bebout Road for the purposes of locating a new fire substation. And the intent of that substation is eventually to have it manned 7 days a week, 24 hours with a limited number of career staff. And just as our current fire station is, that would be supplemented with volunteers, many of who work what we call on-duty shifts. And because this location is surrounded with residences, what we're looking at doing is designing something that has a residential character. And we're talking about a fire station that probably has 3 high bays, 2 that will be immediately used for fire apparatus. We're building this also with the idea in mind that at some future date, it may be that it makes sense also to have an ambulance located at this location. Chief McLaughlin, do you want to add anything to that?
I just need to correct one thing.
Good.
I am very excited about this, but it's not what I'm most excited about, simply because I have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old that are going to love the aquatics facility. So, yes, Daddy's excited about the fire station, and I think we have a lot of work ahead of us. But we've done a lot of the needs assessment in the area, and this is a very fact-based area that we're addressing. And we've looked at our call volume. We've looked at where these responses are going to be. We've used our engineering department to make maps of roads, and 1.5 road miles out for a fire engine, 2.5 road miles out for a ladder truck. And when we identified this gap, it was very fact-based. And there's a lot of people that had a lot to do with that and getting this together. Insurance Services Office is one of them. Our insurance services rating just went down from a 4 to a 3. We are extremely proud of that rating. It does rank us within the top 14% of departments in the nation. And we utilize their services as well to plot different locations for a fire station. And they identified this as the best possible place for us to put the next fire station. We are early in the stages of this. We have only just accepted proposals from design firms. This will be a long in local government isn't that long, but it's going to be a process that isn't going to be done overnight. We're continuing to build facts and figures and come up with a staffing plan as to how this is going to go. But a lot of work's gone into this on both the municipal and the fire end, and we are very excited about this project.
Yeah, I think the thing that that throws people sometimes, is what it takes to staff something like this 7 days a week, 24 hours a day with 2 individuals. That is a significant number of new firefighters that would have to be hired. And what we intend to do is to transition into that. And we're going to take advantage. There is federal funding that's available to help when you have communities like Peters Township who have a need to expand their fire coverage. And our intention is to take advantage of that and do as we always do, is rather than to simply throw a switch, to come up with a transition plan that allows us to do this so that the impact on taxpayers is somewhat mitigated. So Brian, that is all the exciting things that I could come up with to talk about in Peters Township. I can tell you one of the things, we have a very busy year ahead of us, and it's a challenge that I've made to all the department heads and to all the people who work here, that we've got a lot to get done. So, but I think we're up to it. Awesome.
Well, we certainly appreciate you taking time to be with us today. But more importantly, thank you for and all your staff for everything they do for Peters Township. We know it's been a difficult year, especially for you folks, and we really do appreciate it. A couple things I did want to touch base on. First of all, it's always great to hear that Peters Township is leaning forward, especially with this vaccine deployment. That's huge. So that's really special, and we really appreciate that. I heard that early on, especially. So that is really cool. The other thing that I did want to do is encourage everybody, if they're interested, to go take a look at that PennDOT site. Even if you just, I put it in the chat, but if you Google Valley Brook Road, Bebout, Roundabout, it'll bring you right to the PennDOT website. Take a look at that. And for your viewing pleasure and for your fun, do the simulation. It's sort of cool. And do you remember when the date was until they'll allow people to comment?
I think it's my recollection, and we'd have to go to the site because it will tell you, but my recollection is that it's like mid-February.
Yeah, it's somewhere around there. So so that's awesome. But yeah, so lots of good, exciting things. It sure beats the, we got so much going on. We usually talk about paving programs and or lack of and things like that. But it's pretty exciting. Kelly, I'd like to turn it over to you to see what other questions you might have on the Q&A, please.
Kelly, you need to.
You're muted, Kel.
Good morning, everyone.
It'll be easier to answer the questions if I can't hear them.
You can just read my lips, Paul, and then see what figure out, try to figure it out. Thank you to Chief McLaughlin for answering Greg Gold and Mark Dwayne's question and residents' questions as we were going along. But Paul, one of the questions that was brought up earlier is how can we work together as businesses in the community in the township to bring more business? We have all this development and all this growth. How do we work to bring more businesses to Peters Township?
Well, you know, I think one of the good things about Peters Township has always been is that it's very welcoming in terms of new businesses coming to town. You know, we've had an excellent working relationship, at least I believe, with the chamber, and I'm not sure what it is as a program that we need to do that would be different than what we do now. You know, the fact of the matter is, I think the Route 19 commercial corridor is a very viable location. And quite frankly, the reason why I think in part that's true is that the zoning provisions that are contained within the Peters Township zoning ordinance provides for that.
I'd like to comment on that one as well. Especially, you know, when it comes to working with the township, we are very privileged in this township to have a municipality that works very well with the new business owners and with the chamber. And for example, normally when a new business comes to town and I go visit them, I always ask them first thing is, you know, how it's been, what's the system like, what are the relationships? And without a doubt, I always hear that Peters Township is one of the best townships to work with. And that's music to a chamber director's ear, because if it's not like that, it just makes everything more difficult to work with. And so when it comes to the inspections, I'm not going to say, you know, Peters Township is easy. It is fair. And that's the big thing. I usually say tough but fair, but you have to be that way, but it always works out. And anytime I go to the township, especially to the planning department, most of the time I just ask them, if someone brings up something to me, I just say, does this make sense? And they always take it back. They take a look at it. And many times they'll say, let's take a closer look at that. And I think that's the sign of a great municipality who's willing to work with the business community. And I think that's really, really important. And it's important to us. It's important to the new business owners. It's important to the, you know, the commercial real estate folks as well. So I do want to thank you, and especially your planning staff, for working so well with us.
And, you know, the thing that I have always been proud of about the Peters Township Planning Department is they truly do view people who come in with projects as their customers. And so you get treated that way as opposed to someone who has created some type of annoyance that we have to deal with. And so I think that customer orientation is something you see throughout the planning department.
We have another question here. Is there development planned for behind Ace Hardware off of Water Dam Road?
Ace Hardware. You know, there was we were approached by that property owner a while back concerning a significant development. That has all gone away, and we have not heard from that property owner for quite some time at this point. So I don't know what the intention is there. Like I said, when when we were changing the zoning ordinance to bring it in compliance with the Peters Township master plan, there was a lot of interest from that property owner, and that has all disappeared. That has all disappeared.
Interesting. So we have another one that says, I'm excited about the way Peters is developing. Are there any proposed developments for properties in the town center?
Well, this, I think, is going to be an interesting discussion in the community, and I don't know whether I want to jump in the middle of it. You know, one of the things that's happening right now, I think the McMurray Town Center concept that was in the master plan is very fitting, and it's what the community needs. The opportunity to realize that that vision has a lot to do with what will eventually happen with the current middle school property. And so the school district has been focused on getting into that new high school, and they are now focused on renovating the existing high school so that, in fact, middle school students can move into that location. And in all fairness with them, their focus has to be concentrated there. And I don't think yet they have decided what will be the fate of that building and that property. I do think there is an opportunity there, if in fact to be able to redevelop that piece of property and in essence, in one fell swoop, be able to implement the vision for the McMurray Town Center. So.
And we do have a comment that I'm assuming this is regarding the zoning board, that it's also, or the planning commission and planning board, that it's also important to existing business owners to have that relationship with the township as well. If I misspoke, please correct me on that comment. Do we have any other questions for Paul Lauer, Chief McLaughlin, Brian?
All right.
Okay, I'm going to turn it back over to you, Brian.
Sounds good. Thanks, Kel. I appreciate it. Thanks, Mr. Lauer, again, and Mikey. We really appreciate your time with us today. Just a little bit for the chamber. You know, we are open for business by appointment only for the public. So email is probably the best way to get to us at info@ptcoc.org or calling us at 724-941-6345. We do have a Facebook group out there, PT Chamber Community Support. You're welcome to post on that if you have something in the business world that might benefit others. So feel free to take a look at that and our regular Facebook page as well. Tomorrow we will have a similar update with North Strabane Township, and then Thursday we'll follow up with Bethel Park. So you can check out these and other events at ptcoc.org. One more time, big thank you to the township for being with us. Thanks again, Chief McLaughlin. Thanks again, Mr. Lauer, and our sponsor, Washington Financial Bank. And a thank you to all of you. So stay well, my friends, and we'll see you the next time.